Now, before you plan for next year, let's talk about boundaries. There is no spreadsheet that should have you pulling your hair out. I'm Noelle Foden McDowell, your nonprofit CFO and your strategic partner. If you are planning for 2026, this video is for you. I'm going to go over 5 tips that are going to help you have a clear roadmap to building your budget for 2026. Step 1. You're going to want to review your grant landscape. What do I mean by that? You want to go over what is confirmed. So what may have been a multi-year grant that is going to continue for the next year. Maybe you've already received the funding. Maybe you are due for another disbursement, but you're going to want to use that to plan within your budget to make sure that it's not restricted. If it's unrestricted, then of course we love that because it's a lot more flexible. What is pending? So this is a really important one because oftentimes you may get an award towards the end of the year, or you may get an announcement to say, hey, we are awarding you $100,000, but you don't actually receive the money until the next year. So this is what I call pending, because a lot of foundations and a lot of organizations that are giving grant money, they'll do like a big push at the end of the year. But it's going to be really, really important that even if it is pending, if you've gotten that award letter and it's dated for, let's say, December 24th, you're going to want to make sure that you record those funds in that particular year and not the year that you actually receive the funds. But you can very, very much use it towards budgeting for 2026 and what that's going to look like to go against your spending. And then you're going to want to look at what's actually stopping, what funding may have been a multi-year grant, and maybe this is the last year, or maybe there was a funder that was a repeat funder that every year they granted you an award, but this year maybe they are retiring that corner of their house. And so you're going to want to plan to maybe replace whatever program that particular funder or grant was funding. Step 2, you're going to want to budget for real capacity. So this is an important one because there are a lot of nonprofits that are going through fundraising gaps, and it's just becoming harder and harder with this landscape currently to fundraise. And so with that, you're going to want to make sure going into the next year that you are budgeting in a way that is supporting what capacity you need team-wise, not your dream team, but what you actually need and what is sustainable to carry you through 2026 and beyond. So step 3, you're going to want to build in a white space. What do I mean by that? You're going to want to make sure that you're very conscious of building in space, whether it's rest, recovery, and some area for risk. We all intend to push out a certain amount of programming, which comes along with a certain amount of expenses for the next year. But I always tell my clients to identify what are fixed and what is flexible. And so that will also allow you to be able to move with flexibility throughout the year, no matter what changes. But you're going to also want to make sure that you build in rest for yourself and your team, whether that looks like wellness days or whether there are periods of the year where programming is a little bit slow. Step 4. Time block your priorities. This is very important because it also will help you keep up with cash flow. So identify what parts of the year are important for you to do certain programming. Maybe there's a big conference that you do once a year, or maybe you have an after school program that requires more capacity at a certain point of the year. And so you're going to want to make sure that you time block those priorities so you can anticipate cash flow, and you can also have a break in time to where if you need to catch up with fundraising, you are allowed to do that, or you have time to do that. So step 5, you're going to want to be very clear about your boundaries. What do you mean by that, Noelle? I mean, making sure that as you are seeking funding, that you are doing a balance between what goes towards general op and maybe what may be restricted. Because during these times, funding is low. So we can tend to want to apply for all of the grants that we see, or we tend to want to accept all of the funding that we are awarded. And that could really put you in a cash flow crunch if all of your funding is for a particular program and you don't have enough funds to actually operate your organization throughout the year. So in today's video, I gave you 5 areas that can help you build towards planning for 2026. We went through going over your grant landscape. We went over building in real capacity with your team within your budget. We also we talked about building in ease within your budget. And we talked about time blocking your priorities. And the last thing we talked about was actually setting boundaries with your team going into the new year. So if you need help going into 2026, please click the link below and grab my 2026 planning workbook. And it's full of templates. It's full of guidance to give you confidence building your budget for 2026.